Hey, what's up folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. And in this video, we're going to be going through the virtual reality headsets that everyone is talking about. And we're going to kind of compare the specification differences between two of the most popular ones that are going to come out in the next few months. I'm certainly talking about the consumer version of the Oculus Rift that kind of started the whole VR revolution, and the main rival, which will be the Steam Vive headset that will also be released within the same time frame. We're going to be going through the fundamental differences in terms of the specifications and the functionality of both headsets to see which one is right for you. So if you're basically debating upon whether to get the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift consumer version, this is a perfect video for you before you actually get them. So let's go ahead and dive right into this comparison. Now, in terms of the actual specifications, both actually internally are quite similar. They're both using organic LED displays, which is going to resolve an excellent color rendition and fantastic black levels. In terms of actual native resolution, the displays on both headsets are going to be 2160 by 1200, so a little bit higher than full HD resolution, but not quite as high as a proper quad HD. And in terms of the actual resolution, most likely the experience won't be pinpoint sharp. You'll still have a little bit of pixelation, and you certainly will have the presence of that screen door effect. It's not going to be until later down the road once we introduce 4K and 8K displays that will eliminate those kind of issues. Now, refresh rate is sometimes even more important than resolution, and both of them are going to be refreshing the panels at 90 Hertz, which is the absolute minimum for most immersive VR experiences. Now, the optics on both the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive are going to be a little bit different, but both should resolve around 110 degrees for your full field of view. It's not going to completely cover your peripheral vision, but it'll certainly be immersive enough for most VR experiences. Now, one of the key differences between these two VR headsets is really the circumstance that you're going to use them in. The Oculus Rift is mostly a stationary experience, one that typically wants you to be in a stationary sit-down position where one single camera can clearly track your motion and your movement based on that singular position. Now, on the other side, the Vive lets you walk around the specific room that you're in, and it maps your every movement. To do that, they basically have two small base stations that go in the corners of that room, and they specify the room should be around 15 feet by 15 feet in terms of the optimal tracking area. Now, as a safety precaution, there is a built-in camera on the Vive that basically will help you avoid real-world objects, and if you get too close to an actual physical wall, you'll actually see a grid in the virtual world that will help you hopefully avoid hitting the wall. Now, when it comes to comfort, most likely the Oculus Rift will be the most comfortable headset. It's definitely going to be lighter than the HTC Vive, which has over 37 built-in sensors, built-in camera, so a lot more hardware that goes into the Vive compared to the Oculus Rift. Additionally, the Oculus is covered in fabric, which is definitely going to result in better ventilation, thereby reducing the fogging issues that you're going to have with most of VR headsets. Of course, comfort can always be a subjective matter, so once we get physical contact with the consumer versions of both headsets, we'll definitely give you a better analysis. Now, in terms of the control interfaces for both headsets, you can obviously use traditional game pads. In fact, at launch, the Oculus Rift will come with a Xbox One PC controller for the Rift, and of course, later down the road, they're going to have the Oculus Touch interface, which is specifically designed for the Rift, and it's basically a mirrored controllers that conform directly to your hands. Each controller contains a joystick and a couple of different buttons. The design allows you to pair the controllers to function more like real hands when gaming, and hopefully with the built-in tracking sensors and haptic feedback systems, you'll have a VR experience that hopefully is more immersive. Now, the Vive also has a pair of custom VR controllers that actually utilize some hardware from the Steam controller, mainly the trackpads that are supposed to emulate the functionality of a mouse that some people either love or hate. You also have a couple of dual stage triggers that allows games to utilize more dynamic control interfaces. Now, of course, the success of the VR experience will definitely depend upon developers developing specifically for the hardware, so we'll have to see which titles and which actual experience is going to reign supreme, and of course it's going to be interesting to see which control interface becomes more effective. Now, one thing is for sure, whichever VR headset that you're going to select, inevitably you're definitely going to need a beefy computer in order to have the best VR experience possible. So if you essentially think of it, you're going to need a computer that's able to play games at quad HD resolution at over 90 frames per second, so that essentially essentially means ideally you want a quad-core CPU or better. Of course, you want the best graphics card that you can afford. Oculus Rift specifies at least a GTX 970 or R9 290 from AMD, and obviously if you have a better GPU, the better. Most likely the HTC Vive will have similar specifications, so VR at this point certainly isn't accessible to everybody out there, certainly if you don't have a computer that's fast enough to properly run it. But don't worry, as the technology trickles down and optimizations happen, it'll become more and more accessible. Of course, that also comes down to the actual cost of the VR headsets themselves. The consumer version of the Oculus Rift is going to retail for $600, not including the Oculus Touch interface, which is definitely a substantial amount, certainly higher than what most people were predicting. The HTC Vive will most likely retail for a higher cost because you do have a more hardware than the Oculus Rift, and pre-orders will go up on the 29th of February, and we'll update the exact pricing once that becomes available to us. Now, really on that, guys, that's really it. Now, obviously, we're going to have both of these two VR headsets in the near future once they get released to the public, and we'll do a full-on hands-on physical comparison so we can get more in-depth into the disadvantages and advantage that each VR headset presents. I'm really excited and very, very positive about the future of VR. I certainly think it has a very, very amazing potentials later down the road, and these are the first generation consumer models. Now, they are going to come with a premium price tag. You're going to need a powerful computer to run these things at their full capabilities, and the screen technology and the optics are only going to go up and up in terms of the innovation and stuff as the years progress. So stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, definitely do so for all the latest and greatest videos in technology. Thank you so much for your particular support. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and we'll see you later. Take care.